A man walks into an office, clearly tense. You can see it on his face. Something is bothering him. He leans forward and warns the person at the desk. If you haven't fixed this, it will be too much risky. But the other man, he barely reacts. He shrugs and says, "Relax, we haven't experienced any such complaints yet." Remember this moment, because later it becomes a missing piece of the puzzle. This story begins decades earlier, a time when high-speed trains were still new. Japan led the way in the 1950s. Italy and France followed soon after, and eventually Germany joined with its own creation, the Intercity Express, ICE-1. At first, ICE-1 was a star, punctual, smooth, trusted. But what rises eventually cracks. And in this video, you will see how the comfort of one man costs hundreds of people their lives and becomes the reason of the second deadliest train accident in German history. June 3rd, 1998. It was 10 a.m., an ordinary morning of Munich. The ICE 887 arrives on time. Passengers step in casually. No rush, no tension. Just another trip to Hamburg. But for many, this would silently become their last ride. Among them is Jörg Dittmann. He is in the first car with his wife and young son. He watches his boy looking out of the window, completely unaware of what fate is writing for this train. But before this disaster, let's rewind a bit. In the early years of ICE-1, passengers started complaining. Seats felt uncomfortable. Strange sounds came from below their feet. And at high speeds, the cars shook so hard that plates and glasses on tables would fall and shatter. Why? Because ICE-1 originally used monoblock wheels, a single solid piece of metal. Friction with the rail track causes cracks. Normal, expected. But due to a faulty wheel composition, the cracks were uneven. They distorted the wheel's shape. At 250 km per hour, even a teeny distortion feels huge. Passengers felt it immediately. The German National Railway Company Deutsche Bahn needed a solution. Immediately. First was the rebuilding of entire railway network. It was too costly. Second was copying the German tram wheels. Not ideal, as trams run at just 10 km per hour. A tram-style inner metallic core, a separate outer metal ring, or rubber layer in between to absorb bumps and shocks. That was cheap and effective, but only in the short term, because as the saying goes, closing your eyes like a pigeon doesn't solve a problem. It only multiplies it. 5 years later, 1997, Hanover's tram company Ustra noticed early cracks in wheels similar to ICE-1's new design. An official visited Deutsche Bahn and warned, "We have experienced cracks and other complaints in tram resilient wheels, which Deutsche Bahn has been using." But DB replied, "Our wheel core is different and we haven't experienced any such complaints." Yes, these two were the same man from the opening scene, and this warning should have changed everything. Now, back to June 3rd. After stopping at Hanover, ICE 887 accelerated towards Eschede. It was traveling at a speed of 200 km per hour, 14 cars, hundreds of passengers, and one wheel silently falling apart. At 10:57 a.m., the wheel on the third car finally gave up. The outer metal ring snapped. It unwinded violently. A long steel piece shot upward through the floor. It passed between two armrests, right between the seats where Jorg's wife and son were sitting. A miracle. 1 inch to the side, and they wouldn't have survived. Jorg reacted instantly, moved his family, warned other passengers. Panic spread everywhere. But in that chaos, Jorg missed one thing. A small detail. One that could have saved everyone. We'll come back to that later. He rushed to a ticket collector, explained the situation. But the collector said, "As per the company policy, I must check it myself before stopping the train, and we are already 1 minute late." 1 minute? That 1 minute cost over 100 lives. About 500 miles ahead, there was a concrete bridge, and there was nothing that can stop the train. Jorg and the conductor ran towards the first car. They needed to reach the emergency brakes. But the train vibrating violently, metal grinding beneath their feet, the floor rumbling. Before they reached first car, the time has arrived. The broken wheel piece forced open a switch point in the rail track. Car 3 suddenly jumped onto a parallel track. The rest of the cars followed at full speed. The drivers had no idea what was happening behind them. The head car and the first two cars passed safely under the concrete bridge. But car 3 slammed into the bridge, and the bridge crumbled in a second. Car 4 slided into a side area and immediately killed some railway workers. Car 5 and 6 were crushed under the falling concrete. Cars behind them collided into each other, just like falling dominoes. This was a small town of Eschede. An elderly couple saw the crash site first. They alerted the police. The response escalated. Emergency, major emergency, catastrophic emergency. Rescue teams rushed in. 101 people died. 88 suffered severe injuries. 103 had minor injuries. A tragedy that could have been prevented so many times. But who knew then that Deutsche Bahn not only once played with the lives of their passengers? Investigation revealed even more. Fraunhofer, a German research institute, had warned in 1992, resilient wheels are risky for high-speed trains. But thanks to Deutsche Bahn, the warning was never taken seriously. Taking down further revealed that 8 previous complaints were received about cracks in the same wheel design. But you might already guessed what DB did. Yes, again ignored. In aftermath, some compensation was paid to the victims. 3 of the Deutsche Bahn employees were convicted of manslaughter, but each walked free after paying a fine of 10,000 euros. So, what are the lessons from this tragedy? And could Eschede be avoided? Indeed. Cost of comfort. Sometimes you stay in the comfort zone without realizing that maybe someone else is going to pay the price for it. If Deutsche Bahn officer you saw in the opening scene had taken the warning seriously, hundreds of people wouldn't have died. Number 2, necessity. In emergencies, rules should not overshadow common sense. If the conductor had acted immediately, listened to Jorg and pulled the emergency brakes, there wouldn't have been any Eschede disaster. Number 3, better late than never. Highways say late arrival is a lot better than non-arrival. This feels more true in this situation. The conductor hadn't stopped the train immediately because the train was already late. But if he had stopped the train, many innocent lives could have been saved who paid the price of this punctuality. Strong observation. Remember York? I told you he missed something earlier. The emergency brakes in his own car. Yes, they were there. If he had pulled it, everything might have changed. If you like this video and want me to cover more topics like these, tell me in the comments down below.